Hello and welcome to this hands-on machine learning tutorial series by Future Software Solutions. Here we'll teach you a lot of machine learning concepts with their real-world use cases, which will help you to get started with your machine learning career. Also, we'll make a lot of projects that you can add in your portfolio. In this video, we are going to revise some of the basic functions of NumPy library. So let's get started, guys. In this whole tutorial series, we will be working with Python in Jupyter Notebooks, and we'll use the Jupyter Notebooks on Google Colab. Link of all the notebooks will be provided in the description. So why are we using Python? It has thousands of libraries that we can use in our daily programming. Python is easy to use and easy to learn, so it has a low entry barrier. It is also platform independent. The same code can be run on any operating system. It has high readability, that is why Python is a high-level language. Here we can see the growing popularity of Python in the last 5 years. And now the Python is more popular than Java. These are some of the most important libraries that we will use a lot in this tutorial series. We have SciPy for advanced scientific computing. We have Matplotlib to visualize the data. Scikit-learn is used to create machine learning models. Pandas is used for handling or to manipulate the data. IPython is a command line shell for scientific computing. And we have NumPy for array or matrix calculations. So these are some basic built-in data structures in Python. This is a list bounded by the square brackets. Then we have tuple bounded by common brackets. This is an immutable data type. This is a set denoted by curly brackets. It stores only unique elements. It is an immutable and unordered data type. And here we have dictionaries as a key value pair. Let's learn about some more built-in functions in Python. So I'm heading to Google Colab now. When you open the link given in the description, the page should look like this. You just have to click this connect button once and it will connect the notebook to the Google servers. Once it is connected, you are good to go. Let's go through this environment first. If you click here on the table of contents, you can migrate to any section in the notebook from here, just like this. Here we have some code snippets given by the Colab team. And here we have our file manager. If you want to use any file in this notebook, you can directly drag and drop it here and it will be uploaded. Also, you can mount your Google Drive from here, from this icon. Now here we have some very basic Python stuff, guys. You can go ahead and revise your Python concepts. And we will start from the built-in functions from here. So these are some typecasting functions in Python. Like if we see here, the value of I is an integer. And after giving this as an argument into the float function, it will convert this into the float, as we can see here. Similarly, we can do this with other data types also. Then we have len, sum, max and min functions. Here I am taking the example of list, but similarly we can do this with set and tuples also. Now len function returns the length of the list. The sum function returns the sum of all the elements inside a list. And max and min return the maximum and minimum elements of a list. Then we have type function to check the data type of any variable. Then we have any and all functions in Python. Any checks that is there any true value inside a list. If at least one true value is there, it will return true. And all return true when there are all true values in a list. As we can see here, we have two true values here. So any is returning true, but all is returning false because we have one false here. Then we have eval function to evaluate the expressions in Python. The range function is used to create a sequence. If we are giving 5 inside the range function, it will create a sequence from 0 to 4. It will always exclude the upper bound. If we use 2, 10, it will create a sequence from 2 to 9. Then we have loops in Python. Here we always give an iterator object like set, tuple and string. If we give a dictionary here, it will iterate over the keys of the dictionary. And we have a while loop. It is just like any other programming language, so I'm not explaining it right now. Then we have functions in Python to make our code reusable. By using this, we don't have to write the same logic again and again in the script. As you can see here, I created a function to check a number is even or not, and I'm just calling it with different numbers as an argument. I'm heading to my presentation now just to have a look for num. Now we have NumPy. It is a package for fundamental scientific computing in Python. With this, we can perform mathematical manipulations. We can do shape manipulations of a matrix. We can do statistical operations and much more, guys. Let's see some of the basic functions in the NumPy library. So NumPy is used to work with arrays. The array object in NumPy is called n-dimensional array. It would be written as nd array. We can create a NumPy nd object by using array function. As we can see here, X will be an array with these elements. We can check the shape of a NumPy array with the dot shape attribute. We can check the data type with dot d type. And this is how we create the multi-dimensional array in Python. Here the smaller lists are inside an outer list. This one. If we see the shape of this, it is 4, 3. That means we have 4 rows and 3 columns. We can also set the data type manually. As we can see here, we have given all float values, but it has changed all the elements into int. And this is how we can save and load the NumPy array. The file will be saved with npy extension. Then we have zeros function to create NumPy array full of zeros. Here we are giving the desired size of the array. Similarly, we have ones function to create the NumPy array full of 1. Then we have full function to create the NumPy array full of our desired elements. Here we are giving 5 as our desired element and 2, 3 is the dimension of the NumPy array. Then we have np.I function to create the identity matrix. Here we give only one value as a dimension because it always returns a square matrix. Then we have diag function to create the diagonal matrix. We have to pass the diagonal elements like this. Then we have the arrange function. It is similar to the range function that we have seen before. It is also used to create sequence but in the form of NumPy array. The third argument here is for the steps. As we can see here, the first element is 1 and the second number will be the third step of 1, that would be 4. We can also do the same in the range function. Then we have line space function. It is also used to create a sequence, but specialty of this function is that the difference between any two consecutive numbers in the array will be the same. Here we have first argument as the starting number, second as the last number, and third one as the number of elements that we want inside the array. Then we have reshape function for the shape manipulations in Python, in NumPy arrays actually. Here we are creating an array with arrange function which will be one-dimensional array. Then we are converting it to a 4x5 matrix. Now here is a trick. Always remember that the multiplication of these two must be equal to the size of initial array. Otherwise it may give you an error because array after the conversion may get overflow or underflow. Similarly, we can do this with the line space function. We can also slice a NumPy array just like we slice a list. This part would be for the rows and this part would be for columns. Then we have random function to create an array with all random values. If we want to get integers within a given range, we can use random.randint with arguments as we are giving the range from 4 to 15 and the dimensions of the array here. We can use random.normal function to get random values from a normal distribution. NumPy arrays are also mutable. That means we can change the elements inside the array. Like here, if we are giving x3 equals to 20, that means it will change all the elements of row at index 3 to 20, as we can see here. Initially it was this, and after changing it is looking like this. To change a single value, we have to give the coordinates like this, 0, 0. Here we are changing the element at 0th row and 0th column. We can also append a value to the NumPy array with np.append function. It will add the elements to the last of the array as we can see here. We have 6 here, which we are appending, and it is appended 6 to the last. Then we have insert function to insert the elements anywhere inside an array. As we can see here, access refers to row and column. If we use access equals to 0, that means it will insert the given elements as a row. And if we give access equals to 1, it will add the given elements as a column at given index, as we can see here. Then we have stacking in NumPy arrays. It is used to join the NumPy array along an axis. We have VStack to join arrays along vertical axis and HStack to join arrays along horizontal axis. We can also do Boolean indexing in NumPy arrays. Suppose if you want to get all the elements greater than 10, you can get them like this, as you can see here. We can also use multiple conditions with these logical operators. Then we have sort function to sort an array. We also have some basic mathematical functions in NumPy like subtract, power and exponent, etc. We also have some statistical functions like mean, standard deviation, etc. that we can use like this. Then we have broadcasting in NumPy arrays. Broadcasting refers to the ability of NumPy to treat arrays of different shapes during arithmetic operations. Like here you can see we are multiplying 4 to a NumPy array. So that's all guys. This is our first video, so share your views about it. And if you found this video useful, hit that like button and share the video as much as you can. Thanks for watching.